So I saw the creator and it was frustrating. Let me explain. Gareth Edwards, director of Godzilla and Rogue One, has come together to make an original sci-fi movie. Now, in today's climate of moviegoing, original sci-fi is pretty hard to come by, which I think is why there was a decent amount of talk about this movie. And then the trailers came out and it's like, hey, that actually looks pretty good. And then you hear about the budget, and from what I could find, it's about $80 million. Let me put that in context for you. In terms of just production budget and not marketing, Ant-Man Quantumania had another budget of $200 million. Now you can say, hey, come on, those are superhero movies. I mean, their budgets are always going to be, oh my goodness gracious. So theoretically, I could triple this movie's budget and still come significantly under the budget of Indiana Jones. And from those trailers, I mean, like, wow, good stuff. This $80 million looks way better than those 200 million plus ones, right? Unfortunately, for a lot of everything else, it is painfully average. And that's where my frustration kind of stems from, because I do condone and applaud an original sci-fi movie being made. And let me tell you, it uses its budget extremely well. This movie looks fantastic. The cinematography is top notch. The visual effects, I mean, for $80 million, when I've seen shit like The Flash, I mean, they're fantastic. And one of the biggest compliments I can pay this movie is that this movie looks more expensive than it actually is, because I do like the world that Gareth Edwards built. World building is so hard to do, especially with a sci-fi movie where you're not relying on previous IP. And one thing that I like with Gareth Edwards movies, especially with something like Godzilla, is that he does have a good sense of scale. I mean, he made Godzilla feel huge and towering, just a dominating force. Even when it wasn't on screen, you felt it lurking. And there are scenes in here where you combine the beautiful visuals and visual effects along with that sense of scale. He really achieves that. That feeling that this battle is way more important and bigger than you originally thought, and I love those moments, and there are some in here. But man, some of its lows are just so dull. I mean, the first half of this movie I thought was pretty dull and redundant. Nothing that we haven't seen before. And that's okay. Listen, there's a bunch of sci-fi movies. I understand it's pulling from a lot of things. That's okay. I guess what I'm trying to say is I kept waiting for this movie to find its footing outside of that first half, and it took a while. The editing and use of flashbacks I just thought were clunky or unnecessary even. And yeah, they cram in a lot of exposition and backstory, and look, I get it. It's a sci-fi movie. It's a whole new world. So I get it. But like, Jesus Christ, they really rush over some things, and they're important things too, so that when there's eventually a callback and it's supposed to be this big emotional moment, you usually don't feel it that much because they rushed over so many things. So because of that, I didn't really have a huge connection to the main character and his love interest. A lot of that can go to the script, and some of the writing and dialogue is a little wonky. And without getting into spoilers, all I'll say is I did have a few questions about the third act, at least in terms of some of the logic here, but you know, I'm willing for sci-fi movies to kind of turn off that brain logic, I guess. But let's just say there are some questions I could be asked. The performances are all right. Nothing bad about it. Nothing groundbreaking at all. Gemma Chan was actually barely used in this movie. I thought it was a huge waste of a Gemma Chan. So that was a little disappointing. John David Washington certainly has his moments, along with the kid Madeline Voiles. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But as I kind of hinted to earlier, where I was waiting for the movie to find its footing, I did think it found it definitely in the second half. Its action set pieces were much better thought out and well executed, especially compared to the first. Going back to that sense of scale, I think it achieved that in the second half. And it just flowed way better in the second half compared to the clunky first half. So I do think most general audiences will probably walk away with this leaving fairly satisfied. I definitely have some problems with the movie, and it is frustrating because I do think this could have been great. I do wish it was better, but thankfully it does recover in the second half, and it makes for just an average sci-fi movie, all things considered, which isn't terrible, but considering what I was expecting, a little disappointing. The creator, 3 stars. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, the ending does make you kind of think about which side you would stand on between humanity and AI. I don't know if that's going to be talked about at all with this movie, but it certainly makes an interesting choice there. Anyways, fuck the AMPTP. All right, I'll see you guys next time.